Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short little unboxing video to share with you guys. This is the final item that was sent in the massive box of stuff that Tools for Gents sent me. And it is heavy. So given that it's heavy, I figured that it would need its own unboxing. I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, I'll link it right down below in the description so you guys can check it out. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that is entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If I'm not mistaken, this was the one that had no... Yeah, this is an interesting one to me because it has no... It's actually not as heavy as I thought. There are no markings on it whatsoever. So, no idea. But we're going to find out. Oh. It's the little... It's a small version of the... is it the Valhalla? I got a blue one of these a while back that was just gigantic. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little... It's a little Valhalla. Oh, this is such a wild knife. Okay, so here... And I forget... Somebody told me the actual design, like somebody pointed out, like, that's a copy of something that operates just like, I think that designer was actually involved with this. I also think, unless they have changed the OEM, that these are actually made in Italy. This is a wild knife. And so what locks it out, listen, if you want to read some funny comments, I have a short of the Valhalla. It's one of those YouTube shorts where I titled it, it was something really clickbaity, like, have you ever seen a knife like this? Or have you ever seen a knife that can do this? Right? And the thing that this knife does, what you'll see repeated over and over again in the comment section of that video is, you mean a knife that folds? And they're intentionally ignoring the fact that the pivot is obviously a unique mechanism, which is the highlight of this knife. For some reason, the build of this knife, I think, you know, when you do a YouTube short and there's like, it's just like a quick video and there's very little context, people like to assume the intentions behind the creation of the video, or they assume that I made the knife and am trying to imply somehow that the knife is capable of, for some reason, just like extraordinary, you know, durability. I don't know where people get that, and I don't know why that is the visual implication of the Valhalla. Probably because it is just a big knife, right? I think it's hard for some people to understand that just because the knife is big, it doesn't mean that the implication is that it is exceedingly capable or exceedingly durable. Sometimes the highlight is simply the fact that the mechanism exists, regardless of the fact that it does not need to exist, which is another thing that people love to point out. If you have to point that out, I would say you haven't spent much time in the knife world, because unnecessary innovation, which isn't even the right word there, is rampant. That is the name of the game here. People love to make things that are completely and totally unnecessary simply because they are fun and interesting. But anyways, if you find yourself in that moment where you're halfway through a big paragraph about how a design like this is not going to be super capable because the locking system is not, you know, the most durable thing out there, I would stop, because that should be obvious. There are two tabs locking this. And initially, when I opened the Valhalla, I thought, well, it's two tabs of steel. It'll hold the blade out. And, you know, I realized anybody who does try to use this for, like, you know, if you try to like baton with this, or if you try to like smash the spine into something, it's just two tabs of steel. So it's not going to hold up, right? I would very much doubt the person who designed the knife designed it and created this lock with the intention of it being like incredibly durable. No, this is literally just supposed to be, hey, look at that. The blade, which is very long, can actually be housed entirely inside of the frame due to the mechanism allowing for an extended blade to actually fold up like this, right? The blade to handle ratio is wild. I mean, there's more blade than handle. And the only reason that that's possible is because there's this huge shift in where the pivot area would be, and it moves it up and allows it to close up like this. So the Valhalla, I don't think, had a pocket clip, right? This one does. So this is a knife that if you carry it will obviously be less convenient than something like the Ontario Rat 1 or 2. It is slower and more complicated to open, right? And, in a lot of ways, I'm not sure I would trust the lock as much, but only in situations where you're doing something that's probably outside the normal realm of what you would use a knife for, right? So the idea behind carrying this is somebody who does is probably going to know all of that. And the whole reason would just be, hey, look at this. It's kind of interesting, right? Which is perfectly okay. It is interesting. It's neat. I'm glad that it exists. I'm also glad that they decided to make a version that you could actually carry. What's the steel? Well, I don't know. I can't remember what the Valhalla, the big one was. There's a chance it's CPMD2. Could be S30V. But man, it is interesting. I venture to guess that this is aluminum. The pocket clip is probably, I don't know, maybe it's titanium. Let's see. And the pocket clip is steel. Yeah, it wants to connect everywhere there. This whole area, this is all steel, right? It looks like it's super tight. I think that was another comment I got a lot on the short. And of course, nobody who watches this short is actually going to take the time to watch the video where I talk about it. Because why would they do that, right? It's actually very easy to fold in and out. And to, disengage those little tabs there and then close it up is also very easy. The sole thing here is that mechanism is so weird. It's so cool, right? Now, the other thing here is that this mechanism could be implemented on a knife that has a much stronger locking system. I think maybe a secondary pin or something like that. Like if you wanted to make this usable, it's still going to be, for the most part, inconvenient unless they find a way to make the whole process like almost a one-handed thing. I like the idea of a blade that is much longer than the handle being housed within the handle due to a pivot, a shifting, morphing mechanism. I like that idea. It's kind of cool, right? And I think that maybe something like this is in its sort of cocoon phase. Because if you could imagine, how cool would it be to have like an assisted feature? I mean, an automatic feature, like, wow, we're talking a lot there. But some sort of assisted feature where it, and not only does it lock out, not only does it extend the blade length that's housed within the handle there, but maybe some sort of locking mechanism could be implemented where it locks out a little stronger. And then it goes from being, kind of a novelty thing to being like, hey, that's kind of neat, right? Like that actually it might be beneficial for some people. Still a wild concept and a mostly unnecessary concept, but unnecessary concepts are no stranger to this channel. Oh no, that makes for the most interesting content. Because otherwise, like I always say, if we didn't have people out there designing stuff like this, the world would be full of Ontario Rat 2s, Civivi Elementums, oh, God forbid, the Open L, right? And bug outs like that, or Buck 110s. Like, thanks, wow, great, yeah. But pass on a world where that's the only thing that exists, right? Simple utility is common. It's very easy to understand. And at this point, I think it's just baseline knowledge, right? You get to a point where stuff like this is interesting, not because it adds benefit or it adds, some sort of like unforeseen utility. Yes, knowledge of the gods. No, it's because the regular stuff is boring, right? Like the regular stuff is the stuff you use when you take out and you got to just do yard work and get something done, right? But we're knife enthusiasts. We like weird stuff, even if it doesn't need to be, right? So if this has been difficult for you to understand, I'm not coming down on you, but this is the name of the game, and it's not a new thing either. Like this wild, weird stuff has existed for a very long time, and I'm glad that this exists. Unfortunately, I would bet that this is probably pretty expensive. This appears to be aluminum. They might do a G10 version. They might even do like a special Tools for Gents titanium version. I think they always do a Tools for Gents blue. But it is cool. I'm glad that Midgards Messer is out there making the weird stuff. Right? We need it. Anyways, this is just an unboxing and first impressions, not a review. I will measure it for you guys real quick. So This is a, oh man, it's about 8.5 inches, right? So let's actually, that means, is it almost the same? So this guy is 8.75. Wow. With the breaker, it's almost 8.85 inches. That's the AD10, right? And we're looking at a very similar cutting edge. Folded up. Let's see. Like after that big speech, let's see if there's actually like what we're looking at in terms of the difference here. Not much. We would need, if the mechanism extended the blade substantially more. I guess a lot of it is the fact that there's this huge forward choil here, right? So if there wasn't, and this was all blade, which I think might be a little dangerous, then it's like, okay, you know, but then we've got this coming up here and blocking the cutting path, right? So it's a lot of sort of out of the way, unnecessary to gain at maximum if you alter the design. 1/2 inch of cutting edge, something like that. Cool idea though, and I think maybe the future of this idea will be more interesting than what we currently have. But I still like that it exists, right? Anyways, I think that's going to be it today, guys. This will get a review, but today was just an unboxing and first impressions. I will link where this will eventually land down in the description, but I think, like I said earlier, I don't know if at this time if it's actually available. They usually send me stuff way early. So it'll be a search link or a Midgards Messer link where the page that it lands on will eventually populate a listing for this when it's available. So you'll have to go back and check. But in any case, thanks so much to Tools for Gents and Midgards Messer for sending this in. Make sure you check out both Midgards Messer and Tools for Gents for sure. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.